Please join me in a very, very warm welcome for Professor Gavin Phillipson. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much, Mark, for that very kind introduction. So in this paper, I'm going to use a recent important decision of the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, the case of von Hannover versus Germany #2. But I'm going to use it just as a starting point for some, I hope, broader reflections on the conflict between media freedom and individual privacy. One of the more important culture wars currently being fought over the limits and the scope of free speech. And in particular, I want to use it to draw out some quite sharp contrasts between the European and the United States approach in this area. In particular, I think this will point to some wider philosophical differences between Europe and America over the role and reach of the state, in particular the role of the state in protecting the individual against concentrations of private power. So the Strasbourg Court that I referred to in the title, of course, polices the European Convention on Human Rights, which is Europe's regional human rights treaty covering the 50 states of the Council of Europe. Despite the best efforts of much of the British media, and indeed some of my own law students, it is distinct from the European Union and should not be confused with them. Two relevant provisions in the case are Article 8, protecting the right to freedom of, Article 10, protecting the right to freedom of expression, and Article 8, the right to respect for private and family life. Neither of these rights are absolute. They both contain broad exceptions, one of which is significantly the rights and freedoms of others. And notably, under the doctrine of the European Court, states must not only refrain from themselves violating the Convention rights, but they must also, in certain cases, have an obligation to ensure that obligations are protected from attacks on their rights by other private bodies, including, as in this case, the media. So meanwhile, who is von Hannover? Well, this is Princess Caroline of Monaco. In a nice illustration of our globalized world, she is from the royal family of Monaco. She's also the daughter of Grace Kelly. She spends much of her time in France, but was photographed where she's photographed by paparazzo. But because of France's strict privacy laws, those photographs are then mainly published in Germany. And meanwhile, she has twice now visited the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg.